What's up, guys? We did a little change up midstream. That's just what you do. Sometimes life throws some things at you. We actually we're on our Monster Motivator page and we switched it up, and now we're back on the personal page. So guys, feel free to jump on, ask questions. Wait till you hear this story that we have for you today. It's gonna take you here, take you there, take you everywhere through this journey of what this gentleman's been through and what he's going through today. So let's kind of go back a little bit for people that might have missed some of the story. I know that you are a Army vet.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Medic.
Correct.
Right? A combat.
Correct.
So you saw some pretty hairy stuff.
Well, and then later I became a helicopter medic, so I had a good good trip in the military. I had some pretty good duties.
Yeah, we got people jumping on already. So this will be a little bit better. We got on a little bit late. Marion, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so you can pull it up on your Facebook because we switched it up.
Yeah, I got it. Got you on my page.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I know you grew up in Vermont. We had a little bit of a connection there because that's where my motorcycle accident was in Manchester, Vermont. Right. You grew up there. Pretty interesting place to grow up. I mean, your winter starts in September and ends in like May.
Yeah. In fact, I was planting grass just the other day here in Arizona, thinking about my folks that I spent all my life in September stacking cordwood, getting ready for the winter.
Yeah. I mean, you guys had a brutal winters.
Well, and it's a fantastic place. Don't get me wrong.
Oh no,
it's just by March and April, you're ready to get out of that.
So, what made you get into the Army?
I think probably it was just a family destiny thing. My father was a World War II vet. My brother, as well, in the military police. And I chose medicine, just a different path, but still wanted to. The military was important legacy for my family.
Just it was generation. Yeah. What was your dad in World War II? What was he in?
He was a criminal investigator in World War II.
Oh wow! My dad was 82nd Airborne in World War II.
Oh wow!
He just turned. He'll be 92.
Huh.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So you did 8 years as a
both
Army
active
medic.
duty and then later with the helicopter ambulance unit and the National Guard as well.
Okay.
So
Total
8-year commitment.
8 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I came right out, went right into police work.
Okay.
And
where were you? Where
that
was
in New Hampshire, the state next door.
Okay.
I was just about 20 minutes outside of Manchester. It was a small college town that I started police work in, and just rapidly excelled. And it was a crazy story becoming the youngest chief of police in the country, but it doesn't necessarily mean I should have, frankly.
Well,
a good learning experience, a great confidence builder for a guy who, I spent a lot of time in ego. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was a hair on fire and get out of my way kind of. So my last 5 years have obviously changed a lot, but I still, I still understand the gravity that I've been a positive person all my life, and that was important to me.
Yeah, I mean, at 23 years old, if you're a chief of police, I just consider that overachiever. You're figuring it out, you're making it happen, you're a mover and a shaker, and that's just in your DNA. So that's just how long were you in the police department?
I spent 6 years in police work. I got out after a real crazy situation, and I was young and I wanted to have a family, and if it takes a lot to be a cop these days, and these guys aren't getting a fair shake, and I get there's a conversation to have here, but man, you should be a cop's wife. Or a spouse,
or even better.
That's a rough gig.
Be a ride along.
Yeah,
for more than a day.
Right.
Listen.
But I mean, imagine sending your spouse out every night. Yeah. I mean, it's one thing for you to put on a badge and walk around, and you have to be full of ego, or someone's going to eat you up on the street.
Oh, it's eat or be eaten.
And it's just that's the deal.
Yeah.
So I learned how to talk quickly. Yeah. I was never the biggest. Fish in the pond.
Yeah.
And I found myself on the bottom of a few pig piles as a cop, let me tell you. And it was a scratch and claw. But it just seems all of my life I've had, whether they were self-chosen, which we could say they probably all were, I've had several opportunities to have to dig deep and say, you can quit or you can get up.
Yeah, I mean,
It's just that simple, and it's been all of my life. But you know, for me, having that experience of dying and you know, was just something I didn't have time to think about, and you know, it just changed everything. So,
yeah. Well, you know, and I think we all have that in our lives, just different circumstances.
Right.
Look, we all have choices. You can get up or you can stay down. It's up to you, and if either way,
Right.
you're going to create your own reality.
Well, and
So-
you know, I think it's really important to understand that we don't rebound in life without a collapse. A star isn't born without you know, nothing in nature is even born without a collapse first, and it's nothing to be afraid of. But we do spend a lot of time, and I probably did too as a young person, in that victim mentality that you know, woe is me, and you know, there's a time for that. I get it. Feel sorry, but you at some point you've got to reach down and figure out what exactly are you made of, and it reflects to everything in life, Dave.
Yeah,
From your
100%.
commitments in your relationship,
Everything.
to whether or not you can run that last mile before your breath's gone. What's in you deep?
Yeah.
And I think that takes a person who knows themselves.
Absolutely. A lot of things you touched on that I'd like to, you know, expand on a little bit too is look, at the end of the day, it's all self-awareness. Your own level of awareness will take you or break you, right?
Yeah.
And that's up to you to figure that out and keep growing on. Like, it's not a one-time thing. You're not going to read a book and say, okay, now I changed, right? And it's now I'm done. No, you can't go to the
You
gym.
have to have the experience. You have to have a experience
Wisdom.
with emotion.
Wisdom, yeah.
It's like your first kiss,
Yeah.
or where you were at 9/11. You remember because first of all, it was a new experience.
Right.
It was dramatic, and it was full of emotion.
Yes.
So it stores differently in our brain, and we get it now, but we still go through a good chunk of our lives in the self-conscious mode. Of, you can drive to work, Dave, and not even remember. You to, you know,
living in
my situation now is I have 1/4 of your immune system. Every day I walk around, and I have to be cognitive of what I'm perceiving. That is pure and simple. Or I get sick, and it's that quick, and it manifests that fast, and it's just humbling some days to remind yourself. You know, when I was a young man, stress still affected me, Dave, but I was strong enough. I didn't see the effects until bang! All of a sudden, one day you're sitting in an emergency room, and someone goes, "You're dying. You've got 30 days."
Yeah. So you actually were, you know, I know we're going to go down that road, but before we do that, let's kind of take them back a little bit. So after the police department, you got into private investigating.
Yeah.
How long did you do that?
I did that for 2.5 years. I ran a firm that taught skip tracing to banks.
Okay.
So I used to teach seminars around New England, to big seminars to banking institutions. And that's how I was born into the car business. Someone asked me if I'd ever consider training in financing, and so I took my first step and walked away from public service and started. That was really my first occasion of, oh wow, you can actually make money, and just got stupid with it.
Was it something? Was it your own business that you started? That
No,
you did?
no. I went to work for a car dealership like everybody, and became a sales manager, and then a finance manager, and then a finance director, and then a general sales manager, and then a general manager. And then but through that whole career point, I'd always been in the top 2% in the country. So I'd always been able to move around and experience different places. And so the last 8 years I spent on the road as a consultant and trainer nationally, and a speaker. So I'd travel around the country to different dealerships, and basically, if you called me, the dealership was almost dead. So I'd come in and spend anywhere from 5 days to 6 months, repair it at full control, and then turn it back over so they could do something with it. And generally, it was usually so they could sell it. Okay. So I spent a lot of years doing that, and traveling around the country, running my mouth. So.
Yeah, just giving value, man.
Well, I started in the car business. One of the reasons I wanted to get into management in the car business, frankly, was I saw a really crazy industry of they don't treat people very well. The turnover's high.
It's a grind.
It's still an ugly business of, it's still the only business you can still go in and negotiate.
Right.
It just starts off adversarial.
Yeah.
So it's a quick burnout, and people aren't, they're making way too much money.
Right.
And so anyway, I just said there's got to be a better way. That we can do this as the team I've always had, from police work to military.
So you're
to
bringing in your leadership,
sports.
skills.
If you can't get a team right,
yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
you can't swim on your own that long.
You have to lead.
It's just
you have to lead. Yeah,
it's been a critical aspect of my survival. It's been a huge aspect to the calling in my story.
Okay.
That brought us to the #1 bestseller was. I can't do this. I need each and every one of you to give 20 seconds worth of your time. Give $1. Share a post. Invite a friend. Tell a friend. Leave a review. All simple, almost too simple of things that each and every person that I connect with, I ask to do. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. How simple. And our dream was to collect $1 from every single human being we touch. And I know it's $1. I know it's almost too easy.
Is this
that's called give a buck.
But
so
is this
we call that gap? That's our charity.
But is this in the auto industry?
No, this is in our book.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
let's talk about that, because I know I don't want them to mix, because I want them to be very clear, right?
Yeah.
So you get down the auto industry, but let's talk about your book, where this all came from, why it's even here, right? And some of the value people are going to get from it. So let's really dive into this book, because I think it's great timing. So
Yeah, that was.
where did this book
I
manifest?
I was a typical auto executive, making too much money, running around like a fool, thinking I walked on water. I saved dealerships. I thought I was cool. I'm just being honest. I was pretty full of myself for many years.
Right.
So I got sick, and over about a year, I'd lost a lot of weight and didn't understand it. And for a guy who worked 6 in the morning till 10 at night every night for 30 years, I started losing my wind, and I just was tired all the time. So 60 pounds later, I end up in an emergency room in North Carolina and was diagnosed terminal on the spot.
Wow.
Just like
how
that.
old were you?
So let's see, it was 6 years ago, so I was 42.
Wow.
I'd been married 10 years.
Right.
And there was this 24-year-old intern who was telling somebody for the first time they're dying.
Wow.
And it was really an interesting experience. I talk about that actually a lot, because it was, again, the 20-second moments.
Yeah.
Those moments of impact in our lives that we'll never forget. And it changes everything.
I mean, that has to. I mean, so you're feeling it physically.
Yeah.
You're trying to figure out what's going wrong. Obviously, something definitely hit bottom because you went to the emergency room.
Well, I'm a typical guy,
Right.
What? Yeah, I mean, I was in the infantry, for God's sakes. You rub dirt on things.
Yeah.
I was a medic. I'd
Yeah.
say, well, we'll spit on that. You'll be fine in a couple of days. So, that's just the mentality of the military. I'm sorry to say, but it's a tough. You're tough.
It is what it is, right?
So I ignored it for a long time, Dave, and I think there's a message in there, and there's a couple messages in here, because it was really the shock of the diagnosis that was probably the impact moment, to be honest with you. That the reason I was terminal, Dave, hurt me more than the fact that someone just told me I have 30 days to live.
So let's talk about that. So break that down. Give us a little definition of that. What does that mean in your mind at the time?
Well, sitting in an emergency room with my wife.
Okay.
And this doctor tells me that I've been diagnosed with end-stage AIDS.
Okay.
And the first words out of my mouth were, "But I'm not gay."
Right.
Not, "Oh my God, I'm dying."
Right. Right.
No, I didn't have an ego issue.
Right.
It was, "But I'm not gay." And wow, I think about that awkward moment where you just look back on and go, "What a dick."
But you know what though?
But it's okay.
Listen,
I'm okay. I'm okay with it. It was man.
That's a tough hand that you just were dealt. So listen, and I don't think there's
everything changed.
Right, and I don't think. Look, let's keep it real. I don't think there is a real the perfect response.
No.
I mean, that's a hand.
No.
You're on that table, right? And you got, you're looking at a certain hand. All of a sudden, life gives you that other hand.
Totally. It's
know.
just such a great example of what I was and what I am
Yeah.
today. I mean, I still get punched in the gut.
Yeah.
But it's.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that, Marion. I know it looked like we might have one or two jump on, a few people jump on.
I haven't seen anybody. I
Okay.
know Kelly and
Yeah.
Kelly Fitzgerald that likes and Joseph Aquilo.
Yep, Joey Giggles from New York. What's up, my man? Thank you for.
Joey Giggles?
Yeah,
Okay, I'm calling Joey Giggles.
Yep, thank you for jumping on. He's got a great podcast, man. You guys want to check him out. Kelly, thank you so much for jumping on, and thank you for connecting us. A great, great guy here. Colby K, that's my boy. Yesterday, the Primate, we killed it on Monster Motivator TV. Thank you for the love, my man. You get this news, and not only you, but your wife, right? She has got to be like, what in the world is going on?
Yeah.
What's the next process in this? Because like you said, no matter what happens, victims, and you tell me if you agree with this, victims never win, but there is also a mourning process, right?
Absolutely.
That you have to, but then there's a line in the sand, right? Right?
Yeah.
It's that.
And I mean, I think, I don't care if your mourning process is 5 minutes.
Or whatever that is.
Whatever you think it is, Dave,
Right.
is exactly what it is.
Right.
And that's the thing, we there's a structure where sometimes we think, oh, well, I'm supposed to mourn for.
Yes.
No,
you're right.
No.
That's a great point.
Don't run from it.
Right.
Let it hurt you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Let it hurt you.
Yeah.
Process it. And here's the deal, though. For me, if
Right.
you don't process it and learn something from
Right.
it and apply it,
Right.
it's just repeated behavior.
Then you
Eventually.
failed.
You haven't succeeded by any
You
means.
failed, yeah.
I don't think, I've tried to remove fail and say, I just learned. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
But at the same time, on a motivational aspect, you're absolutely right. It's you either is or you ain't.
Well-
but when I first started this book thing, as an example, I almost went to bestseller in like a week.
Yeah.
And then it was a year before, and I worked and worked, and then suddenly I just went, let it go.
Yeah.
And about 2 months later, it hit European number
Wow.
one. And then Canada number one
Wow.
a couple of weeks later, and then last week in the USA, Amazon number one. And I literally put in 1/10 of the work.
Yeah, but that's so interesting as an entrepreneur, right? And so many people that look at this show, because so many are entrepreneurs and we want everything yesterday, right? It's in our DNA, and that's always the struggle, right?
Yeah.
Is letting things
It's
go.
the attitude while you wait.
Yes,
You
yes.
know, it's always been that.
Yeah,
And we jest about it here, but it is the hardest tool.
Oh
I think.
man, is it tough? It is
And
tough.
my situation's been surrounded by loving people, and that's how the whole deal's happened.
Yeah.
I made a plea to people in my story and said, I'll share with you the most humbling thing of my life.
Right.
If we do something with it.
Right.
I want to do something.
So
with it.
this is where the book
Yes.
came from. So give us an overview of this book, right? What's
I
in
mean,
it and what's it about?
It was a month later that I was transported back to my home state, and I had an experience in the hospital. I didn't know what it was, but a couple years later I find out it's a near-death experience, and during those 2 years I started remarkably healing all these things. Now I had been diagnosed with end-stage AIDS, and obviously one of the tricky aspects here that we need to mention is, had I been tested earlier, I wouldn't have been terminal, first of all.
Okay.
You can live for a normal life.
Yeah.
Testing positive
look
for
at Magic
HIV.
Johnson. Yeah.
There's medications.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of issues here. 60% of the population doesn't even know they're infected.
Right. Right.
So we need to just talk about, look,
You got to
if HIV testing was as commonplace as your cholesterol testing, so
Right.
they could sell you Lipitor,
right.
37 million people might not be dying here.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so
Right.
we need to just be okay with HIV testing just needs to be a routine medical test.
Yeah.
You know, right now you have to go in and beg for it.
Yeah.
In fact, you have to fill out a survey of your sexual preferences, orientations, and just
Right.
to shame the crap out of you
Right.
before you donate your blood. There's just
Right.
even the government says, Dave,
Right.
if we just tested everybody, you'd end the disease.
Right.
You don't need a cure.
Right.
You just need responsibility.
Right.
And it's a toughie.
Right. And I think it's a
And
combination of
we just don't talk about it.
yeah.
That's the deal.
Yeah, it's kind of been
You
on
know?
the back burner now since since what the late '90s or whatever it was.
I honestly, and I'm not a blame fault guy, as you know from my attitude, but 30 years ago, many of us took that disease and put it into a box of it's a gay thing, and it's
Yeah.
not my issue.
Yeah.
And I get that. I did it.
Right.
And frankly, some people were meaner about it.
Sure.
And we need to find some forgiveness about it. We've come culturally a long way with the gay population and their rights, and by God, it should have happened a long time ago. But anyway, we're there.
Right.
So can't we just go back and revisit the HIV thing and have it not be a shameful thing?
Well, I mean-
because here, now, and I wanted
Yeah.
to say this because
Yeah.
this is the most powerful thing
Right.
I say throughout the country when I'm talking. Today,
Mm-hmm.
in the last couple of years, the fastest growing population of new HIV infections are females ages 13 to 24 years old.
Wow. Wow.
Do you understand what's
I mean,
happening
no,
here?
that's
It's like we ignored
Wow.
it long enough,
right.
and it's changing.
Wow.
And we don't need to be math geniuses to
No.
know what this means. Now, if you're talking 40% of the population is now females in prime childbearing years, where 60% don't know they're infected,
Yeah. It's-
we can do better.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the motivation behind the book,
Okay,
obviously.
okay.
We talk about a lot of things in the book. It's just some of my crazy stories, so you're laughing one minute, and
Right.
but I tell the real story about
Right.
this is the real story of AIDS without it having to be a sexual bias thing. Can just absorb what I went through and understand that a 20-second HIV test would have saved it all. So please, that's obviously the key issue, but there are 100. The story really was a love story testament to a woman that I met at the end of my really hard medical stuff that I fell in love with, and
Your wife?
my girlfriend,
Your girlfriend.
Carol.
Okay.
And so it wasn't me, Dave. I'm not a superhero. I don't have healing abilities.
Sure.
I am absolutely scientifically, spiritually, and purposely convinced that I'm saved every day and was saved before by each and every person who came along my path and the energy they shared with me.
Okay. That's what a great way to live and what a great way to look at things. I got a question for you. When you could identify or learn that it was a near-death experience,
Yeah.
take us through that. What did you see?
that was the wildest part.
Because I've known a few people.
To be honest, if it hadn't happened this way, go figure, I probably wouldn't have put it all together.
Okay.
But this is the way it happened. It was two hospital. First of all, I'll back you up. I'm in and out of a coma. So I mean, I was a piece of nothing.
You're a vegetable in a way.
And
right?
and so anyway, I wasn't dreaming.
Right.
I was I was on a DNR, a do not resuscitate. I had let go. I gave up, and bang, I have this thing, and I wake up from it and think it's a dream.
Okay.
So this experience, I wake up and have, but suddenly things start changing. I'm like a kid. I'm like a child.
And you're in this right now.
After this dream, I wake up.
Right.
I literally, after this experience, woke up from this coma and said, I need to see all my doctors right now. There's something important I'm supposed to do.
Let me ask you this. Let's go back just a minute, because
Yeah.
now I'm really curious, right?
The experience is pretty wild.
Yeah, so the experience itself, what did that feel like?
Oh, that's been, I think that question becomes the hardest or the best question for every near-death experiencer, because it's a constant, you're trying to constantly tell people or explain, and in writing it was, and people said I got it pretty good, but to explain something you can't compare anything to.
Okay.
That ineffable moment of how do you explain this? I've never experienced it. How do you explain it to you if you know what I mean? So it's fascinating. It was feel and touch and a sense of peace and overwhelming
Okay, so it was a
joy.
sense of peace, and that's I know
in a time that shouldn't have been.
right, but
Honestly,
but it
the
makes
way I
sense
looked at myself.
because I know two people that have gone through that,
Yeah.
and one said they saw same thing,
Yeah.
complete and utter peace,
Yeah.
complete and utter joy, complete and utter freedom, right, with a light, a bright light,
For
and then
sure,
somebody
yeah.
else said not the same thing, but a different, I think a different light that they saw. But here's what's interesting with what the other person said is they were given a choice. Do you want to stay or do you want to come
Well,
back?
that's funny that you mentioned that because
And that was the first time I heard that.
I'd always
Right.
thought, yeah, you would, when it's your time, it's your time.
Yeah,
and
that's
the deal.
right,
It's
right,
the deal,
right,
dude. So, but it was the same thing for me. You know, there was a light and there was a man in the light.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful.
You know it
and
was a man?
magical. Oh yeah, I mean, I touched his face.
Okay.
And I mean, it was a crazy experience. It's very detailed in the book as
Okay.
far as I even smelled things. I tasted things. I even urinated. It was so powerful of a vibration experience.
I guess
it
the
just
one-
was that. I mean, I don't mean to be weird. It's
Well,
just
no, listen, it is what it
was
is.
like
We're all adults here. It is what it
holy
is.
cow moment of your life, and that's what that was the deal. Was I was asked, "Are you ready?" And I
Oh,
said,
so you were given a choice.
and I had already in the bed said,
Yeah.
"DNR, I'm out. I
Okay.
can't be saved, and I don't want to be, Dave. Honestly."
So when you were given that choice, what made you say that you wanted to come back?
I have absolutely no idea.
Okay, all right. Do you remember saying you wanted to come back, or
Yeah.
you don't even know
Yeah.
that? Okay,
It was, "Are you ready?" And I literally didn't even think.
Right.
No, I'm not. That was it. The 3 words. That was it.
okay.
Which I always look back at and still wonder about because here I am laying in this bed, done.
Well, you know-
and I had been okay with it. I had processed it. My
Right.
family was there. We're planning a funeral.
But this is so interesting.
Hospice,
It's
you
so
know?
interesting to me because I like my motorcycle accident. I didn't have that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the other person that I know that did have it, not only did they give them a choice, right?
Total
but
choice.
when I said, well, what made you? I asked them the same question. What made you say I want to come back? They were given a choice with what could happen if you didn't or did to what was existing.
Fascinating.
So
Yeah.
I mean that's pretty.
Yeah.
And before that, before the two people I actually met and knew and are friends with, the first time I heard that was there was the PBS. Wayne Dyer
Yeah.
had this lady on that her whole life she was neurotic, scared of everything, just a trembling mess, right? Is what she called herself. She had a near-death experience and just saw the peace, saw the love, saw everything, came back and became a completely different person because she had no fear.
Yeah.
What is there to fear now? You know, I think that is so, what a gift. What a gift.
I think you've obviously, to me, nailed one of the critical public crises in this country.
There you go.
Is, our addiction, if not forced,
Right.
to fear. I mean, it surrounds
Oh.
everything in our lives.
That's it, brother. It's everything.
Ridiculous.
It's everything. And I also believe that all the fears that we have, right? The fear of the unknown,
Yeah.
the fear of failure, the fear of success, the fear of whatever, all maps to 2 major fears. What I believe as a whole is the fear of change and the fear of what other people think. And they let that dictate their life. And it's interesting, I think, right? Now that we're talking about this, if I was in that position and the spirit said, you have a choice, do you want to come back or do you want to stay?
Yeah.
And for me, because of my DNA, because people ask me, you're the fear barrier guy, right? What are you afraid of? And I say, there's not even a second place. I'm terrified of leaving anything on the table. I'm terrified of regret. So I think if I got there, I'd say, wait a minute, I still got a few more things to do. Don't bring me yet. Don't bring me yet.
And those 2 categories, you're spot on to me. It's,
The fears? Yeah.
I found the whole thing ironic when I spent my life trying to fit into the mold that people created
It's craziness.
to just jam myself into the box of what I'm expected to do,
craziness.
the family, the kids, the whole American
Right,
Pie
exactly.
thing. And I just think how ironic that I'm healing things you shouldn't be able to heal.
Right.
I'm happy. I'm
Right.
content. And I'm different now. and I'm awkwardly different than ever I would have allowed myself to be, and I freaking love it.
But guess what? Here's what's so cool, right? Here's what's so cool about this. It gets, if anything gets my juices flowing, it's this. It brings us right back. Where did it bring us back to?
Well,
it brought us back to your level of awareness in yourself.
Well, and I think some of it, you know, from childhood, we're looking for that dream partner, that relationship, that thing that's going to complete
Or the dream life.
us, right?
The dream life.
And you know, here's the deal that I want to say to people. Eventually, you will find somebody in your life who will understand one thing, that we are constantly changing. And they'll want to be a part in that evolutionary experience completely unconditionally, without bending you into what they think you should be as a spouse or a partner. That's when you start healing.
Yeah.
That is unconditional love.
And
it's, there's no fear anywhere in there.
And that's so 100%. And to make it, you know, I always kind of simplify things. That's the way I think. It really, because you stop going against nature.
Yeah.
When you go against nature, you never win, right? It's such an uphill battle when you go against nature. But conditioning tells us, right, that you're going to go against nature because you're supposed to do this. You're supposed, you know, my thing was left back in the 2nd grade, diagnosed with ADD, said I hadn't learned disorder, never graduated high school. I'm not supposed to win. Because I couldn't learn in that cookie cutter mode, right? You're not supposed to win. And, you know, some of the...
Set up to fail.
Yeah, because, you know, what it boiled down to was my EQ outshines my IQ all day long. But what I've learned...
I'll take that.
All day long, man. All day long. In the real world, all day long.
Yeah.
And that is why I am so passionate about and such a proponent on personal development should be taught from day one. That's the real.
Funny that routine comes into play. That you know, it just seems like somewhere we've been taught get into your comfort level. Find a comfort level. What, Lord, that's where you're missing a good chunk of what's happening around you. And here's for me one of the big things that helps me every day is new experiences. You know, I mean, we can play on terms, but you want to poke people in the eye sometimes, metaphorically. And if you're going to continue to do the same behavior and expect different results,
insanity, brother.
Why would we even discuss that?
Right.
But you know, and that's the thing that at first with my book was hard. Because I wanted to teach and show and please listen to me. But like you said earlier, until they have an experience, and it doesn't have to be a near-death experience. It's any experience.
It has to be their time.
It's like you don't even understand how to sand a board until you've actually done it. I can tell you how to do it, but it's But that's the deal, man. We get into these patterns and routines and forget that to evolve, you actually have to like do new things. That, you know, in what's happening scientifically with what we're understanding about the brain and how it grows each time we have a new experience.
Everything.
It's unbelievable.
And not just that.
The responsibility that we need to start taking for our attitudes and our behavior.
Absolutely. And not only that, look at the other end of this, right? Look at the change that's happening by the minute. We're live streaming to Facebook to 5,000 people in the backyard, in your backyard.
I would have never been able to touch this many people.
And it's happening by the second. By the second, it's the time we are living in is really unprecedented.
I'd love to have a beer with Mark Zuckerberg and just ask him, can't we have a positive Facebook where like you have somebody there with a filter? If it's about fear, you know, just get rid of it, man. You know, but it does teach us that we are that filter. We need to be able to that free will of, are you ready, Dave? I wasn't. You know, that guy in that light told me something, and it was the only other word spoken, and it was, there's something important you're supposed to do. And I've been following that every day since.
I mean, that's an amazing gift. Marion, did we have anybody else jump on?
No one jumped on.
The who? I'm sorry, what?
No Not anyone else has jumped on.
Okay.
You guys are having a great show.
Oh, great, great. I know, I think Big John jumped on. I believe I can see that. Maybe you can't see that, but so where can they find your book?
On Amazon seems to be our biggest thing, but it's at every bookstore, Barnes
Okay.
& Nobles, Amazon. It is on sale on the website as well for
Okay.
a personalized copy.
Okay.
If that makes sense for you, but the Kindle's $3.99 on Amazon, and
22?
still was ranked for last week for 5 days and at #1. So
Yeah?
yeah.
Awesome, man. Congratulations. Congratulations. Mine just landed, so we're in that brand new journey.
Yes,
Right?
indeed.
We're in that brand new journey. 22 seconds, a true account of survival and hope.
20 seconds.
Oh, 20 seconds. I'm
22
sorry.
might be the sequel, though.
All right.
I was just,
All right.
because it's
There you
already
go.
written. I was just looking for a title, dude.
There you go. There you go. So 20 seconds, a true account of survival and hope. Give us an overview of that title.
20 seconds for me was not only that moment sitting in North Carolina being told you're dead in 30 days, but it's been the understanding of the impact moment we can each make in every single person's life at any single moment of any single day to improve their situation and yours,
Okay.
even if it's just 20 seconds.
Okay.
Whether it's that smile or that just what
Something.
little it requires to actually make a difference with another human being. That's what this book's real backbone is about.
And you know what's so cool?
And calling the collective.
But-
come play.
But
and
you
get
know what's so
involved
cool?
in
What
this
you
story.
just said though, that little bit, right? That can be made, the impact, the little bit from your end, but the ROI all the way around
Yes.
is just unbelievable,
Yeah, we
right?
we got taught as kids.
Yeah.
It's about
Yeah.
the team, and we can fight it and not understand it, but eventually at some point somebody goes,
Yes, yes.
You can do anything you want in life,
Right.
but you're stronger with your numbers.
Yeah.
And that is how you change and make social impact.
Yeah.
And our cause is we donate, obviously, from the book to our charity called Give a Buck. We call it GAB for short, and because we want to gab about getting people tested and talking about
good. Okay.
this disease isn't just the gay disease that a lot of people don't think has anything
So
to do
tell them
with
about that. So you donate a certain
Yeah.
percentage of the
Yeah.
book to
Yeah.
your nonprofit.
Yeah, and we, make a plea to people too. Even if you don't know how to get involved, if you can't share a post or invite friends or leave a review, you can give $1 and say that you're in.
You're a part of it.
You get it. That
Right.
it isn't. It is.
Right.
Here's the deal, man. These are our daughters.
Right.
Can we just have a conversation seriously without it having? The minute sexuality doesn't become an issue with the AIDS crisis,
We start to win.
the AIDS crisis ends.
We start to win.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And that's the real spirit of the
No,
book.
that's
and,
the real.
and getting involved. I can't require the gay community to carry this thing up the hill.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to get involved. Your families,
Yeah.
people who shouldn't be involved, need to get involved, and then we just fix it.
Yeah.
Just one topic. We can do one thing.
Yeah.
To me, this whole thing was about what is our society? It's almost like God made this disease to say, what are you people made of?
Yeah. What are you gonna? Yeah. Exactly.
Because you can stop this disease by human conscious choice alone. Can you dig it?
Yeah.
And we didn't.
Yeah.
And 35 years later, it's now coming after the daughters of the very people who shoved it in a shoebox that it wasn't my problem.
And here's what happened, right?
Sorry.
You became, because of your situation, because of your reality, became the mouthpiece. You became, right? So whatever that is, for whatever reason, who knows, you're the one that's saying, you know what, we need you to carry that flag. And
there was something important
Yeah.
I was supposed to do, is what the
Yes.
dude said.
Yeah.
And I don't know that that's it. I think it's just an everyday thing that,
I know, but
I don't care what we did here today.
Right.
But when I met Dave and we sat down to have an encounter, it was my choice to decide how you leave my house.
Right.
And I guarantee you one thing. It's going to be with a smile and an experience that was emotional, because I want you to remember it. Just like that 9/11s and those. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you gotta put skin into it, man.
Yeah, and what I like, the reason we connect is pretty simple, right? Because it's real.
Yeah.
It's real, and people are starving for the real out there, and that's what it's about. It's about being real. I know we might have had some. Marion, did anybody jump on?
Yeah, Gary Warney, he says, thanks for a great show, guys.
Hey, Gary, thanks so much for jumping on. Thanks for taking the time. And you guys got to pick up this book. I'm going to pick my copy up. I'm looking forward to it. So before we jump off, is there anything that I didn't talk about, I didn't share that you want to share?
No,
Okay.
It's you know, I do a lot of interviews, and sometimes it's awkward and from the other. So this was a really big, fresh breath of air for me to be able to have this experience with you today. And
What was it like for you?
well,
and
I've always felt like this, Dave. I think the truest form of courage is vulnerability. And just being okay.
100%.
Do you know what I mean?
100%.
I mean, they're going to have an opinion anyway.
Make them accurate. Be
What the
yourself.
hell? It's
Make them accurate.
I just don't have time to worry about somebody's grass.
Yeah.
I mean, look at mine.
Right.
I'm just worried about mine.
Right.
And if I can help make a difference in somebody's life,
Yeah.
even if it's 20 seconds worth,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So the thing was, we needed people's involvement. So we certainly invite you to engage. It's an entertaining book. We just submitted for Pulitzer consideration. So those results are supposed to be coming out this week. So
Beautiful.
we're excited about that. We would be blown away, but the reader's favorite 5 stars, and it's just been such a journey of each and every person reading the book and going, holy cow, I've got to do something.
Right.
Just 20 seconds worth of something to do. Invite your friends to our page.
Yeah.
Give $1, leave a review. Oh my God, how hard is that? I'm like constantly review.
Right. Yeah.
So my friends are tolerant of the passion, and I've had a couple people. It's not easy to advocate for HIV.
Right.
I'm just
it's not politically
let's be authentic
accepted.
here.
It's just not.
I'm thrown out of some places
Yeah.
because it's too sensitive of a topic.
Yep.
And I'm not accepted in some communities because I'm not a gay member of the community.
Right.
So it's a bit of a pickle, and I think it's exactly the pickle that we needed to stir the pot a little bit.
Yeah.
To, if we all can't get involved, then we're just going to get the same results.
Yeah, it's not going to be good. So where can they find you?
20 seconds, 20seconds.net is our website. I also have a blog. You can attach everything from there. We do a good chunk of our connectivity through Facebook. It's really been the driving force, and I'm still so thrilled socially that it was invented to connect so many.
Oh, it's amazing.
What we're going to be able to do medically, what they're talking, man, I'm trying to get involved because that is a humanity changing experience to be able to connect another human being in a positive, proactive manner.
Yeah, and I love that proactive, really getting involved and doing something and making a difference instead of just talking about it, because proactive is that's life.
Yeah.
So I love that. So before we jump off, right, I'm gonna introduce you to what's called the Monster Motivator Roar.
All right.
Now, I believe that we live in one state at a time. So if we're in gratitude state, there's no room for victim state. But if we're in victim state, there's no room for gratitude state.
Totally
right?
agree.
There's no room for survivor state, victory state if you're in victim state, right? So because that is, and there's also always choices, right? Life says you have this choice or this choice. Do you want to purr like a kitten or roar like a lion? And I want to roar like a lion till my last breath, and I know you do too.
Oh,
so
man.
Here's the Monster Motivator
There's no
roar.
sheep here, baby.
That's it. Here's the Monster Motivator roar, and the sound is just as important as the pose. On 3, we're going to go like this. Ah! You ready?
All right,
1,
let's go.
2, 3.
Yeah, baby.
We are in the unstoppable state, baby.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. Hope you have a great day.
And you are going to jump on and reconnect.
Yes, I will be on my site or my author site or the book site. Take care.
Beautiful.